Love is patient, love is kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way, nor is it irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. Love hears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. In the early 1990s, Dr. Gary Chapman was counseling a couple on the edge of divorce. The man said he showed his love by doing the chores around the house and cleaning up after his wife every single day. The woman, though, said that wasn't enough. She said she wanted to talk to her husband more and get to know him a little bit better. This led Dr. Chapman to start thinking about the ways people show love. He started by noticing that the man showed his love through actions, but that the woman wanted him to show love through words and through conversation. Dr. Chapman pondered this thought and started researching it and thinking about it with the other couples that he mentored and counseled. When I was in middle school, I took an assessment about myself. This assessment showed me the ways that I am loved and showed me how I love other people. It showed me if I was like that man who did chores around the house and thought that that was enough. And it showed me if I was like that woman who wanted words to be spoken to me so that I felt loved. Have you ever noticed the way that you feel loved? Have you ever noticed the way that you show love to other people? Have you ever noticed the ways that other people show love to you, or that they are loved? Have you noticed that showing love to your spouse might mean showing love a different way than it does to your friend, but that friend can be shown a love that's completely different than another friend? You see, Dr. Chapman produced this book called The 5 Love Languages. These 5 love languages can answer all of those questions and can help show you not just how you are loved, but how you love other people. Dr. Chapman writes about 5 love languages in his book. These love languages can be broken down even more, but essentially what he says is that there's 5 ways that people love and feel loved from other people. The 5 ways are words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. The first one that he writes about in his book, he calls words of affirmation. He says this because sometimes for people who have this as their love language, words speak louder than actions. Words of affirmation is using your words to tell somebody else how much you love or appreciate them. It's using your lips to say the phrases, I love you, I appreciate you, thank you, great job. In most relationships, the first time you tell your significant other that you like or love them is a huge deal. Most people even kiss way before they say to each other that they love each other, because saying that L word means a lot in that relationship. Words of affirmation comes in the form of simple phrases that mean so much to most people. An example of this love language would be going so in depth as to be a wedding vow. It can also be so simple as to be saying thank you, or I did this for you. If you ever hear someone say I did this for them and they never even gave me a thank you, they are wanting those words of affirmation. My mother gets upset when I end a conversation with her and don't tell her that I love her. This is because she wants to know from my lips that I do truly love her. Words of affirmation is so simple to do, yet for some people it is often overlooked. If you think this may be one of your love languages, think about how you feel when somebody tells you that they appreciate you. When a teacher or a coach says, "Good job, you've gotten better." Or when somebody writes a note and expresses their appreciation for you. Most people love to hear the phrase, "I love you." But to people who have this as their main love language, they want to hear that more often, and they want to hear other phrases such as, "Thank you, I appreciate you, great job." Displaying this love language is simple, but it is often overlooked. It takes 1 second to say, "I love you." It takes 1 second to say, "You're awesome." It takes 2 to say, "I'm glad you're in my life." To display your love through words simply takes little effort, thought, and willingness to open up. But it can make or break a relationship. There are negatives to this love language. If you or somebody you know has this love language, be careful when around other people that you don't say negative things to them. Because if they have this same love language and you say negative things to them, that can extremely hurt them. Negative sayings hurt most people, but to people with this love language, it hurts even more and cuts even deeper. This is a big love language for a lot of people, and this is just the first on Dr. Chapman's list. The second on his list that he references in his book, he calls quality time. Quality time is an extremely important love language and means so much to so many people. Those who have this as their love language just want to be in their loved one's presence. They simply want to spend time with you, and being with you is how they feel loved. This can be displayed through trips together, through watching movies together, or really just doing anything together. This is why for so many couples, dates on a regular time are very important. I know of a couple who each have this love language. The wife will sit and do absolutely nothing all day long while her husband is out working on the farm or doing other things. She doesn't even have to have her cell phone to stay busy. As long as she is in her husband's presence, she feels loved and he feels loved. Studies I have done on this specific love language have shown me that there are actually 2 ways to spend quality time with each other. There's what I call amount of time, and there's quality conversation. Amount of time is simply spending time with each other. It can go as far as not even saying a single word to each other, but you just spend time in each other's presence. Quality conversation is having meaningful discussion with each other during that time that you're together. It's more than words of affirmation though. It is spending that time together and having great conversation, a 30-minute conversation, hour-long conversation, anything like this can be great quality conversation. When you think about it, it's pretty easy to tell those who have this love language. If you hate not being together, if it's all that you can think about to be with your spouse or be with your friend or anybody that you love, if you hate spending time apart from each other, you probably have this love language. With all love languages, there are negatives for those who have this. Long distance relationships are extremely difficult to do and can be even more difficult for those who have this love language. A relationship may be ruined when one person moves away and the relationship becomes long distance. Although that doesn't always have to be the case, it just means that for those who have this relationship, they have to work extremely hard at long distance relationships. Displaying this love language takes a lot of effort. It may mean that you have to take time off of work. It may mean that you have to drive somewhere to see that person that you love. It may mean not watching your favorite TV show or not being able to study for that test that you really need to study for. Showing this love language does not mean that you quit your life and that you don't study for that test. It doesn't mean that you don't give up other times that you would spend doing other things. It just means that you reprioritize things and that you make that person that you love a priority in your life, and you try to spend as much time with them as possible. The third language that Mr. Chapman examines is receiving gifts. Most people love to receive gifts, but to some this is an extremely special love language. Giving someone a gift shows that person that you thought about them. It shows that you care about them and that you understand the things that they love and that you wanted to show them that you love them through this way. This doesn't always have to be buying a gift, however. It can be making a gift or just picking flowers up off of the side of the road to give to that person that you love. An example of this would be coming back from vacation, let's say in some other country, and while you were over there, you thought about that. You thought about that person, and you wanted to buy them a souvenir, and so you bring them back something special from that country. It can be bringing dessert to someone who can't cook dessert themselves, or just is having a rough time and could use that love. It can also come during the holidays. Those who show their love through gifts oftentimes give the best and most Christmas gifts. They give the best and most birthday gifts, and they love to receive gifts on Christmas and birthday. For those who do want to be shown their love through gifts, gifts on Christmas and birthdays are not the only times that you should give this person a gift. You should also give this person a gift just on any random day. Those people are looking for gifts at random times. They want for those special holidays to be special and to be some time that they receive gifts. But they also want to know you appreciate them at other times. They want the flower from the side of the road on a random day. They want that box of chocolate not just at Valentine's Day, but just on any random day. Maybe the box of chocolates is on sale, or maybe you just thought it'd be nice to bring them that box of chocolates. This is showing love through giving gifts, and to those whose love language is receiving gifts, this is how they know that you love them. If you want to know if this is how you are loved, think about how it would make you feel if someone left a simple box for you on the table and then left and went to work, so that later that day when you came home and they weren't around, you received that gift from them. If that feels like love to you, because they're not with you, they can't tell you that they love you, but they've given you that gift. If that feels like love, if that's something that you appreciate, chances are this is your love language. If you'd rather they give you a $5 gift rather than hold your hand, chances are this is your love language. The fourth love language that Dr. Chapman discusses in his book, he considers acts of service. An example of acts of service is simply in the family setting. It's setting up dinner, making dinner. It's cleaning up after dinner. It's cleaning up the house. It's doing the laundry. It's doing that honey-do list and getting it done. It is doing these special services for people and spending your time to help them in their life in whatever way. Now, how to tell if you have this is pretty simple. There are a lot of people who don't want other people to do things for them. They want to do things all on their own and not have any help. There are those, though, on the complete other spectrum that love for things to be done for them. They love to have help with their studying. They love to have help in the kitchen or any other place in life. They love it when you take their car for them and you check the oil, you check the tire pressure, and you make sure that their car is safe to drive in. Those people that love for those things to be done for them, those are the kind of people who probably have this as their love language. How to display this love language, I've given multiple options. It's not just showing your love to somebody by going overseas and doing acts of service. It is doing just simple acts for that person that you love to show them that you love them. But like with every other love language, there are negatives. The negatives for acts of service can be if your spouse has that as their love language and you're trying to show them that, it can be extremely easy to become a Cinderella, to become a slave, to start doing everything for that person. If you're trying to show your love through acts of service, you need to be careful. Don't let that become a god in your life. Don't let that take up all of your time. Still spend time for yourself, still do things for you, and not just always for that person that you love. Now, the fifth and final love language that Dr. Chapman discusses is physical touch. Physical touch is probably the most common love language, but it can also be the most hated love language for some people. Physical touch is holding hands, it's hugs, it's kisses, it's being right next to somebody, it's sitting in somebody's lap and just simply touching that person. It's back massages, it's shoulder massages, it's playing with somebody's hair. All of these things are examples of physical touch. Physical touch, if you're not positive that you have this, then you probably don't have this as your love language. Maybe you do. But for most people that have physical touch as their love language, it's pretty easy to see that this is their love language because they're always giving hugs. They are what they would call huggers, and they're always spending time right next to that person that they love. Instead of scooting the chair away from each other when you're sitting next to each other so that you're not touching, they are probably sitting on your lap or just being as close as possible as they can be, showing their love through physical touch and at the same time gaining love through physical touch. As I've explained with the other 4 love languages, there are negatives to this one, and this one probably has the biggest negatives. For some people, they hate physical touch. The American culture is much bigger in physical touch than other cultures are, but there are still a lot of people in America who hate physical touch. These people don't like when you sit close to them. They're not big huggers, and they can get offended when you're spending so much time in their personal space. They often have an invisible bubble around them that they need to not have encroached on and not have popped. And when a physical touch person comes into that bubble, they can get extremely irritable and extremely upset at that person. So you have to be careful if you're showing your love through physical touch, not to overdo it. To learn those who don't have this as their love language and not show this to them, but to show that you love them through whatever their love language is. Probably though, the biggest negative that comes with physical touch is that it's extremely easy to move way too fast in relationships or to do things that you never thought that you would do early on in relationships. It can be extremely easy to take that hand holding to a deeper hug, to cuddling in bed, and then the list goes on and on. When you never thought you would do these things in your relationship, now you've caught yourself doing things that you know your parents would not be proud of and that you should not do. Before a couple is married, it's tough to show physical touch. But it can still be done and is often done. But it is also often very annoying to those other people around you. If you're that couple showing physical touch all of the time, they're going to get annoyed that you're spending so much time right next to each other, that you can't stop kissing each other or holding each other's hand. They're going to get upset at you, and you have to learn how to manage yourself and not do too much physical touch. Displaying this love language, while it might be a tough thing to do, it can also be extremely special for that person. It doesn't just have to be in romantic settings, but it can be in family settings, in friendship settings, in anywhere. A simple handshake is showing physical touch, giving physical touch to show your appreciation or gratitude for somebody else. I've shown you about these 5 love languages, but I encourage you, go do research for yourself. There's a lot of research being done on these love languages right now, even though Dr. Chapman wrote that book over 20 years ago. That book has been produced multiple times and is in many different forms. There's love languages for men, love languages for women, love languages for couples, love languages for teens. There's many forms of his book, but they all discuss those 5 specific love languages. The research that's being done right now is to see how many other love languages could there be, or how could we break these down. I encourage you, go look for yourself. While you might not fully identify with one of these love languages, you probably identify with 2 or 3 of them, and probably don't identify with a few of them. Go research, figure out what the scholars say about what your love language is, and that can help you tremendously in all of your relationships. Knowing how you are loved, knowing how you love other people, can not only help your romantic relationship, but it can also help your relationship with your family and with your friends. Figure out what your kids' love languages are, what your spouse's love language is. Figure out what your friends' love languages are, and that'll help you show love to those people. It's pretty easy when you think about it. Think about how other people act towards you. Think about how they act towards everybody else. Figure out how they want to be loved, and you'll figure out what their love language is, and you'll be able to love that person even more. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is the greatest of all these things.